Hi, and welcome back to Transparent with Tina. I am Tina Marx, your host. Thank you so much for joining us. I have a very lovely guest today. She is a coach as well, Dr. Amanda Barrientez. Welcome, Amanda.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
And I found you on Instagram. No, I think I found you on LinkedIn, didn't I?
Yeah,
we found each other somehow.
LinkedIn.
And we had a talk, and I'm really, really fascinated in what you do. And before we get into that, I want to hear a little bit about your backstory and how you became a coach. So why don't you just fill us in there?
Awesome. All right. Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll get to the point as fast as I can. I really started through my own downfall. It was my own personal downfall. So I was in grad school and I had 3 kids and I had been married for 15 years. And I ended up leaving my 15-year marriage through having an affair. And then my next relationship wasn't working out. And I was laying on the floor crying one night and I thought, oh crap. I had a revelation. It was a really powerful moment because I realized, oh crap, I'm the center of my reality and I'm the one that's causing this to happen. And so I thought, okay, I got to be willing to do whatever it takes to shift in a new direction because I'm really tired of this reality. On top of that, I was potentially facing homelessness. I didn't know where I was going to live. My ex-husband lost his job, so I had no child support. So here I am in grad school, 3 kids, lost relationships, all alone, and like just feeling pretty down in the dumps going, oh crap. So I had to apply for food stamps. I moved into subsidized housing. And I started listening to podcasts avidly, like just every second I possibly could. I started, when I was riding my bike to school, carpooling my kids, washing the dishes, like hours a day if I possibly could. And I started to realize that all of the podcasts I was listening to were by coaches. And I was like, it just kind of planted the seed in my mind. And I remember I was on a run with one of my best friends one day, and I said, I think I want to be a coach. It just like came out of my mouth. It was really cool. But what had happened at the same time was that one of the podcasts I was listening to was run by, it ended up being someone in Boulder, Colorado, which is where I live, which was so cool because he had started a podcast and he launched this program to come to a relationship school to learn how to be a relationship coach. And I was like, I've got to be there no matter what, because this is calling me so big time. So I emailed him and I said, I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to get there. I had no money. I'm making like $1,800 a month at this time, bringing home $1,800 a month. My rent was $1,400. I'm on food stamps, trying to work my way through grad school so I can at least finish that and have some sort of leg up in life. And he said,
and I'm assuming this course is not free.
Exactly. Yeah, it was $5,500, which to me at the time was like a lot of money.
Rent's 14 and your income's even $400 for the rest of the month is
totally
right.
Yeah. Okay. I was maxing out my student loans. I was doing everything I could to just survive, get through grad school. But I thought, this is like what I am called to do. And I can also see that it's working. Even just listening to the podcast and implementing what I was learning, things were starting to shift in my life. And I thought, I gotta be there. And so he said, I'm not willing to let you do it for free, which I'm so glad that he didn't, because it caused me to be really resourceful. And I ended up finding loan money that I hadn't used. I sold furniture. I got resourceful and I came up with some money, and then him and I made an agreement for me to do work study. So I did work study for the rest. And at the course, I was surrounded by all these people that from my perception at the time were really rich, and I thought I was really negatively comparing myself, thinking like, I don't really belong here, but I'm going to do my best. And we were doing this exercise one day and it had to do with values. And I started crying and he came over and was talking to me and it was a really deep integrative workshop, lots of good stuff going on. And he came over and I said, I just feel really inadequate compared to other people. And I'm tired of being poor. And he said, well, where's wealth building on your value system? And I was like, what do you mean? And at that moment, I realized I've never stopped to ask myself, why am I poor? And I had always struggled financially. My ex-husband and I had gone through bankruptcy and we were constantly struggling financially. And I had never really considered that it was possible for me to not be poor. I just kind of thought like, you know, wealthy people just know how to be wealthy somehow. And I don't have those, it's not going to happen for me type of thing.
Right.
And yet I was going through grad school to shift that reality. I thought, oh, grad school and becoming a professor is my way out. And
right. It's
yeah,
like if I get another certification, or I get another certification, then I'll be good enough. I mean, I had a whole, I can totally identify with that, because I had a whole wall of certifications, and it didn't make me feel any more valuable or any closer to being successful or monetarily
absolutely
wealthy, anything. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm right there.
Well, right. And I knew so many professors that were poor and struggling and stressed out. And it was interesting because I started when he asked me that question, I started shifting my values. I was like, I am going to put wealth building as my number one value. And so really quickly, I shifted out of food stamps and started saving money and started investing. I started learning about stocks, and I started just changing everything in my world. I started hanging out with wealthy people. I built a wealth building group. I just was like, I'm going all the way.
How did you make that shift?
It's a skill I can learn. Like, I actually realized it's a skill you can learn. It's not just this magical thing that only some people can have. Anyone can change their financial reality.
Right. Exactly. And
so that was
learned that at the course.
Not really. It was a relationship course. So it was training to become a relationship coach. But for me, I had this, it was so strange, because I always thought I was going to be a relationship coach, because that's really why I entered into all of that, because I was thinking my relationships are a mess. But I also realized that my finances were a mess. And I realized that those two things are very integrated, and that, you know, that your net worth is really a reflection of your self-worth, and that your relationships are a reflection of your self-worth. And I started to see, I got to change me. And this is a good place to start, because I'm freaking tired of being poor. It was really what it came down to.
Okay. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I started shifting everything. I really started implementing what I was learning. And then everything in my life started to change from there. And it was just this powerful process of self-discovery, leaning into personal growth and development. And then as I was, you know, this was during grad school, and I always thought I was going to be a professor. And then I saw all the professors really stressed out, and all my friends were applying for jobs, and they were getting 100 flyouts. They would apply for 100 jobs, get a couple flyouts, and be offered $50,000 a year jobs in Kansas. And I was like, you know, and I'm sorry if anyone is living in Kansas. I live in Colorado, and I was like, I'm not leaving Boulder. My kids are here, my family's here, my life is here. And I didn't just do all this work to make $50,000 a year. I'll be poor forever.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought, totally. So I just went, I'm going to go for it. And I took the leap. So I decided I'm going to finish my PhD, because that just makes sense. So I finished. And as I was finishing, I started planting the seeds for building a coaching business. And then when I left grad school, my first year of coaching full time was 2019, and I broke the 6-figure mark. So I went from food stamps to 6 figures.
In the first year.
Yeah. In the first full-time year of my business.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was big shifts.
Yeah, it is. Okay. And so what keeps you in momentum, would you say? I mean, you know, you went from, first of all, I have a question from earlier, when you had to borrow some of the money to go to that course. Okay. You've got 3 kids. Did you have a lot of people say, you're crazy? I mean, you know, you're going to go take this course. That's not being realistic. Right? I mean, obviously there was something internally that was really, really guiding you to do this. I mean, unless, you know, you just did it on a whim, but.
You know, I've always been somewhat of a rebel. So, so I didn't really ask anyone's permission. You know, it was like, I'm doing what I want to do. And I was so called to, when I loved teaching in university, like it was one of my absolute favorite things. I love learning and I love teaching.
Right.
And I realized, oh, those are things that I could do in coaching and get paid way more to do it and have a much larger impact. And so I really saw the avenue. It was almost like this career had been brought to me that was perfectly aligned. You know, it was like, I get to do everything I want to do all day and get paid a whole bunch of money to do it and help people. That's awesome.
Right.
And so for me, it was, once I saw that possibility, I just went all the way. And then I surrounded myself with successful coaches. And so, it's like my graduation present to myself was to go to a Brendan Burchard event to learn some marketing skills for coaches. Mm-hmm. And there I met a whole bunch of people that were making $1 million a year in coaching. And I'm like, all right, game on.
Let's go. Yeah, exactly. So what is your area of expertise? I mean, there's coaches. I mean, one of my best friends is a financial coach, and I had her on last week. So what is your area of expertise?
It has become, like I said, I thought I was going to start with relationship coaching. And originally my 3 pillars that I work from are personal power, win-win relationships, and money mastery. And it's evolved over, the last few years, and big time in the last 6 months too. I only work with entrepreneurs, and I work with them on their mindset. And what it's really come down to, I've come to realize, is all of your personal power is in your mind. Yes. And in your mindset. And so the more that I've done, I'm like, okay, we are the creators of our reality, but when our mindset is not aligned, so we have competing commitments. So I call this competing commitments. When our subconscious belief system does not align with our conscious belief system, we have competing commitments.
Yes.
And 95% of us is run by our subconscious. So if you are thinking you want one thing, but getting another, you have competing commitments. So I've just been diving super deep into neuroscience, metaphysics, law of attraction, quantum physics, all those kinds of, Carl Jung, looking at the unconscious and going, okay, how do we learn to get from point A to point Z the fastest? And for me, it's helping people understand what the underlying limiting beliefs are.
Okay. And then once you discover what their underlying beliefs are, what the story maybe that they've told themselves when they were 5 years old, then you help them make the shift.
Yeah.
Right? And for those of you who believe that this is like Pollyanna and this is like new age stuff, I mean, it goes back to so many thousands of years, whether, you're talking, the great scientists. I mean, this is a science. It is not a religion. It is based on science. And I can attest that it does work because, I have my master's in metaphysics. That's what completely turned my life around, because I was filled with fear most of my life. And the only reason that I made that shift was because I started applying these principles. And I know the difference when I'm in a fear-based mindset or in a faith-based mindset. And I do know how to pivot, but most people don't. And it took me so much longer because I didn't have somebody like you to help me along the way. Okay. So if somebody signs up with coaching with you, I mean, how long would you say it would take somebody to make a shift? Do you work with people for a certain amount of time? I mean, do you usually do 3 months, 6 months, and then they're on their way, or how does it work?
I actually, and I think part of this is because of where I came from, when I started this process, I didn't have thousands of dollars to pay for high level coaching. So I offer a lot of different stuff so that people at every level can work with me. So, I have a free podcast, Max Potential Habits, which we talk a lot about mindset.
It's great. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Your mindset's a habit. So it's a habits podcast, but it's really setting you up for strategies to help you succeed. So that's free. Then I have a whole bunch of freebies. I just created an online course that's free, ownyourinnerboss.com. Really awesome mindset tips. Like it'll give you the basics. Then I have an online course. It's a 30-day boot camp to really help you up level your mindset. We focus on, in the beginning, we focus on your limiting beliefs, your fears, your doubts, imposter syndrome, things like that. Then we shift into clarity, vision, purpose, how to make decisions powerfully. Then we shift into money mindset, and then into business habits that set you up for high level performance. It's $497, and you get weekly access to me. Then there's the next level coaching where I tailor a program.
Access to you, is that privately or is that in a group format?
I do weekly office hours for anyone who works with me, either in my group coaching, in the boot camp, or one-on-one. They can come to my office hours. I'm there every week, and they can ask me any questions they want about building a business. So it's like this really cool way to just go, oh, I'm going to get into your online course for $497. And then I have access to you every week whenever I need a tune-up of some sort. So, the answer to your question too, I see people shift like wildly in 1 hour. I mean, you can shift a belief and change your whole life in an hour. It depends, right? There's some things that we dig deeper and there's more angles to apply, but it just, like, I mean, really, because it's the power of your mind, if there's something that's been holding you back for a long time, if you get asked one powerful question sometimes, like when he asked me, where's wealth building on your values list? And I realized, like, why am I poor? Really? It's an option not to be. You know, like it seems so logical to me now and so silly that I hadn't thought it, but I just hadn't had the thought before. And so, you know, a good coach can help you unlock your potential pretty rapidly, which I really like the coaching model versus, you know, other models where it's like we dig deep and just go in the past for a long time. And, you know, like I'm giving you practical, actionable strategies every single day. And every time you work with me. So all people who listen to my podcast and, you know, go even into my free online courses and stuff like that, they'll notice like they're getting practical tips that they can immediately implement to shift, because my goal is to help people get there the fastest they possibly can. Why wait, right? Like life is short. Let's get on with it.
Right.
So which is my company name, right? Like NFA Coaching.
I wanted to bring that up. So you want to tell them what that?
Sure. Yeah. So it stands for no fucking around. So NFA Coaching is my company name, and it's really how I operate. And it's from this loving place of like, let's get on to shining our brilliance in the world. Yes. And to do that, you really got to love yourself. So I'm going to give you tips and tools to love yourself to the fullest extent possible, so that you can create what you were meant to create and step into your zone of genius and take it to whatever level you want to go.
Right. So, and I think I love that, because, you know, traditional therapy, it's like you're going year after year after year, and, you know, it really shouldn't take that long. You know, we talked about metaphysics earlier. You know, I hear about NLP now all the time, and that really, they say you can make a shift in 15 minutes with that. Are you trained in NLP at all?
You know, it's funny you asked that. I just signed up for a course. I've started to look into it because a lot of people talk about it, and I'm realizing a lot of what I do is NLP based. I just didn't know it. Now that I'm like learning, I'm like, oh, interesting. I knew these things somehow, just in what I've picked up along the way.
And your training is kind of like a mixture of everything, or is it based on like one kind of teaching?
Definitely a mixture. So my background, my PhD's in sociology, my bachelor's is in psychology. I did years of research for the Behavioral Institute of Science at CU Boulder. And I worked with prisoners doing life history analysis and interviews. And so I have a lot of different interesting types of background. And then one of my main mentors that I have a couple of certifications from is Dr. John DeMartini. So he works in mindset as well. He wouldn't call it mindset. He helps people shift their perceptions through his method, which is called the DeMartini method. So I'm a trained facilitator in that. And then I do values training with people, which is to help you step into your zone of genius. So I have a lot of different tricks in my toolkit, and I just use whichever ones I need to use in the moment. But my courses I'm creating right now through the Inner Boss Bootcamp is an Inner Boss 10X system. So it's like, I want people to be able to have a very easy system to go, okay, I go through this and the results are this, and I 10X my business. Like, that's what I want for people. So I'm, you know, and I like, systems are easier to follow. And so, you know, I have a system to help people walk through and take very step-by-step approach to up leveling from wherever they are to where they want to be.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like most of your clients are for business, for money. You had mentioned way earlier about maybe do relationship coaching at all? I mean, is that in the mix? Do you use the same model?
I work with a lot of entrepreneurial couples, which is super fun. And yes, here's the thing. All of us are in relationships. Yeah. Right? Like, I don't care if it's an intimate partnership with your kids, with your team, with coworkers. We are all in relationships. And so if you don't know how to create win-win relationships, you're going to suffer, because your relationships are really what help you thrive. As a sociologist, you know, I know that we all interact socially, and that there was a 75-year Harvard study that talked about how happy, high quality relationships are the number one thing to help with your immunity, build, you know, like long-term happiness, longevity, brain development. Right. And so, you know, relationships matter a lot. So it's not something,
and it works the other way as well. It works
totally.
Because if you're in the wrong relationship, same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't market myself as a relationship coach, but I've definitely worked with couples. And
I have a personal question for you. So since
it.
you've made this shift and you've made the money now and you've got a successful business, has it shifted your relationships?
Oh yeah.
It has.
Great question.
So you're not running.
And I love the transparency conversation, because I love to share my stuff, so so the person that I had an affair with, we got together in grad school. So I met him in grad school and told my husband. We tried to work it out. It didn't work. I left and then ended up with this person. So we had this long relationship going where we moved in, we moved out, it was like, there was this thing that had to be played out.
Right.
But the interesting thing was, in the last few years, when I really hit it hard with coaching and started doing the deep inner work, we just started to grow apart. And in the last year, I found out he was having an affair. And of course,
when you were involved.
Yeah. We were living together. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh yeah. We were like married basically. And so I found that out, and it was really fascinating because it happened after this 10-day workshop I had gone to. And at the end of it, everyone said, get ready, because whatever doesn't align is going to drop away. And about a week later, I found out, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And so yes, I had a hard time letting it go. And I did a podcast actually called The Benefits of Affairs. And for me, it's about this growth path. I don't hold him in a place of like, we're friends. My ex-husband and I are dear friends. We like have family dinners, go on family trips. Like, we're really, really close. So I've done that repair work. So in the same way, when I found that out, of course it was hard, and there was stuff that I had to work through, but I also create my reality. So I had to look at myself and I had to go, why am I creating this? What's going on? What am I not willing to see? What am I not owning? How can I learn from this? I mean, I'm not going to just tell people
maybe
to do it and not do it myself.
Do you think part of that was a fear of intimacy? Having an affair?
Him or me? What you mean, when I did, or when he did?
For you, because you're not him.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it was a lot of things. I got married at 20, right? So we got pregnant. I got married at 20. I was very young. I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian family. So I'm a completely different person now than I was then. And so I grew a lot. I learned a lot. I blamed my ex-husband for everything. I mean, I did not take responsibility well at all. And then I had an affair, which I still didn't even take responsibility then. I still blamed him for me having an affair.
Right. And looking back, knowing what you know now, why do you think you did that? Why did you just couldn't take any of the blame?
I wanted out. I wanted out of the relationship. It was a very challenging relationship. And I wanted out, but I didn't have the skills to say this isn't working for me. So I blew it up by having an affair, because he had always told me that was the number one way that he would leave. And then when I did and told him he didn't want to leave, and I was like, oh no.
Now I got to do something else.
Yeah, now I still have to say I don't want to be in this relationship. And so it was messy, and it was challenging, and it was also beautiful, because wow, we both learned so much. And so there's so many things that come out of that if you lean into it and look for the lessons.
That's exactly it. I do believe that everything happens to us for a reason. There's always a lesson to be learned, and the only when we resist, the lesson will come back. It'll come back in a different face, different mask, different person. That's why they just keep changing relationships, changing the face of the person, looking for, and if you haven't learned the lesson, then, it's just going to be like Groundhog Day, kind of how we all feel right now. So we both agree upon that. And you had said something earlier about perception. I mean, it's a way we perceive anything, I was talking the other day, and I said, instead of, especially now with the quarantine and everything else going on, everybody's like, oh, what do I have to do today? It's like, what do I get to do today? The difference in how you feel, how you wake up your body, if you say something like that. So, it's all really about the way you look at things. And it sounds like you're a master of taking somebody and getting them to the next level, right?
Yeah.
Their subconscious. And so you do private coaching, you do online courses, and you do group coaching, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And right now, tell us a little bit about the free, it's the one that I took, the mini course. It's the 4 videos.
Yep. So it is called the Own Your Inner Boss Own Your Inner Boss.
Yeah.
So because the other one,
that's it. Yeah.
The course is called Inner Boss Bootcamp, and the mini course that's free, that of course it leads into that boot camp, but I want to give you a flavor of what it would be like to learn from me, right? And I always like to give value for people who at the moment, it's always funny to say I can't afford something, because I don't believe that. Obviously, I was on food stamps and I figured out how to pay for a course to change my life. But when you're looking for the money, it's a way to start the process, right? So I like to have a lot of free stuff out there too. But yeah, it's called the Own Your Inner Boss Masterclass, and it's a mini course. So in under an hour, we talk about how your brain is keeping you stuck, your inner critic, how your inner critic is a survival mechanism, how to become friends with your inner critic, how to make inner boss decisions, really tricks and tips to help you start to bring some of your unconscious conscious, so that you can shift in a new direction and really get aligned with making powerful decisions that are no longer fighting yourself, basically.
Exactly. And this is going to help you in any way, because some people don't even realize they have an inner critic. I heard yesterday, and they hit me right between the eyes. It said, if you're really hard on yourself, that's how hard you are on everybody else.
Yes.
Wow. That's my whole life. I'm really hard on myself, and I'm really hard on other people. And it's like that I would like to shape a little bit more and twist.
Yeah.
Not only just for myself, but going outward too. So,
absolutely.
Okay. If we have one takeaway for our viewers here and our listeners here, what would that be?
Oh, there's so many good ones. I would say, remember that your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So if you don't like what you're seeing on the outside, look within and start there. Yeah. The more that you blame other people, you lose all of your power to shift your reality. So if you want to have a magic wand to create whatever you want, just live by that. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world.
And as you said, it can change quickly. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't have to take years. It just has to take like a willingness, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Dr. Amanda, it's such a pleasure. I'm going to be taking your 30-day course. I want to.
Nice.
That's all about it, right?
That'll be awesome.
Best way to get a hold of you, tell us your website.
nfacoaching.com.
Okay. No fucking around coaching.com, but don't use the whole word. Coaching.com. All right. Well, it's such a pleasure having you. And,
thank you.
In the near future.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you have an incredible, beautiful day.
We will. Bye.